Welcome back, my lovely friends. Welcome to today's prompt. We can use all the bits and pieces, all the leftover scraps we have from previous projects in our Dephemerember 2025. And here they are, Barbara from 49 Dragonflies and Luise Heinzel, our lovely hosts for this annual event. Today is day 26 of Dephemerember, and the prompt is Clusters and Tangled Threads. And for me, clusters are one of those things that can look deceptively simple. Like you can think a few scraps, bit of thread, something tied together, and it will be done. But as I sit down today, I'm very aware that what we usually see on social media or so are the clusters that turned out well. The ones the crafter felt looked balanced and they were worth sharing and photographing. This one here, for example, is one Jen sent to me in this little parcel, and of course I have no idea how many attempts she has made before and that are still sitting in her stash. So before I start, I want to show you some of the bits I may be working with today. A lot of these lovely pieces come from Jem from our Dephemerember swap. The stems, for example, here, and other little bits and pieces. And as I lay them out here, I notice this familiar feeling of appreciation for her generosity, but also a bit of sadness, I have to say. There's choice involved here. Not everything will be used. Not everything will become part of something finished. And that's already part of the process we don't talk about very much. Making involves selection. And even the most transparent crafters don't show everything they make. They show what they choose to share. And today, I choose to share with you my unedited process of making clustered and tangled threads in Dephemerember 2025. Let's see how we go. I have to admit, it's a little bit edited. As you can see here, the speed, of course, is double of my normal speed of crafting. But I thought I don't want you to sit for hours through my crafting process. And I think it doesn't take away from the actual process itself. The other thing that, of course, is edited, this is a voiceover, because by now you know that something always goes wrong for me. And again, I forgot to press start on my microphone. So this is why this one doesn't have sound at all. So I will speak to what you can see double speed here on in my video. Here I'm tearing down brown paper to create 8 cluster bases. This part is very ordinary, nothing exciting yet. Just paper, my hands, and unfortunately not the sounds of me tearing it. And I think this is where a lot of creativity lies, in these unremarkable beginnings. When we see the finished piece online, it rarely shows this torn paper stage. But every cluster starts somewhere simple. It's not dull also, it's just an unfinished phase. And then after that, I begin layering scraps onto each other. Some combinations immediately feel pleasant to me. Others feel neutral. Some feel like they might need a little bit more time. And that's very normal, I think. I often think about how we talk about creativity as if every attempt should lead somewhere meaningful. But in reality, many attempts are simply part of learning what works and what doesn't. Most finished pieces we admire are not first attempts. They are usually later ones after the creator has already tried, adjusted, and refined. So, at this point here, I have 8 little clusters forming. They are not identical, they are not equally interesting, and I'm not trying to make them like fit to each other or all little masterpieces. I find this feels so important to say. Creativity isn't about every attempt shining. It's about giving ourselves enough space to make many attempts, to try things out, to discard what didn't work, to really play and allow ourselves to get lost in the process of not judging, just putting things on top of each other and seeing, does this work? How does it look if I use this leftover little piece? Can I combine these colors? And for me, these things don't come naturally to me. Like some people, they are so brilliant with interior design or spatial awareness. And so for me, not so much. I really need to see, to feel, to give myself time. So, and here by adding texture and little bits and pieces on top, something slowly begins to shift. Some clusters start to develop a bit of personality for me. Others remain fairly quiet, and that's okay. Not every piece needs to speak to me. Some are just practice. Some are warm-ups. Some teach our hands something even if they never make it onto a page in our journal. When we only see the successful pieces of others, it's easy to forget how much making happens behind the scenes. And that's why I thought I show you all of them. And because I don't find that they look particularly beautiful, but I thought I show you so that we can share realistic expectation with each other, so that we don't believe we are lacking behind and others always know what to do. I would like to show you that I have sometimes really no clue what I'm doing, but I try to enjoy the process. And here I start assembling each cluster, some with eyelets using my crocodile and some with stitching and buttons, like the buttons from my previous project. And here I'm just punching through, taking my eyelet and then just pressing all the little snippets together with the eyelet. Here it is. I have to say, I really don't find it's a masterpiece. It looks a little bit odd, this gingerbread man looking or peeking through the holes. I'm not sure that I would like to keep it like that. But I would not know if I would not have done it this way. And while I'm assembling the next cluster here, I'm noticing how my hands start to remember what to do. Just putting the eyelet in here, pressing it down, done. I'm not measuring, I'm not aiming for symmetry, I just do it. And that's one of the gifts of repetition, I find. When we've made things often enough, our hands start to carry some of the knowing for us. In therapy, we talk a lot about procedural memory, the kind of memory that lives in the body rather than in words. It's how we tie our shoes without thinking or reach for comfort automatically when we need it. Creative practices build that same kind of memory. Not just for the technique, but for trust, actually. Trust that starting messy doesn't mean ending badly. Trust that beginnings don't have to be impressive to be worthwhile. These torn edges are not mistakes, they are invitations, one little cluster at a time. So, now that the clusters are starting to take form, I notice something else happening. Some piles feel easy to arrange for me, others feel really resistant. And this is where comparison can quietly creep in. We've all seen those Pinterest perfect clusters, perfect color harmony, perfect balance, perfect effortlessness in the making. I always joke with my daughter, like, Pinterest? Me. And then the difference, really. What we rarely see is that those pieces are often version 17, not version 1. As a therapist, I see how often people compare their inside to someone else's outside. And creativity can activate that exact same dynamic. If your clusters doesn't look magical right away, it doesn't mean you are doing it wrong. It means you are still in process. Or it even means it is one of the ones that, you just don't like. It's one you just learn from. Most learning happens right here in the part where nothing looks finished yet. So, as I add thread here, I'm slowing down a little bit more because thread has a way of doing that. Like, you can't really rush it without tangling, losing, or pulling the thread in ways you didn't intend. It feels like such a good metaphor for emotional work too for me. We can't push ourselves to get over things. We can't rush inside. Integration happens at the speed of the body. And some of these clusters are starting to show a bit of character now. Not because I forced them to, but because I stayed with them long enough. I have to admit, some of these clusters are still not really speaking to me, and I think I'm letting that be okay too. Not everything we make needs to be expressive or beautiful. Some pieces exist simply so the next one can exist more freely. So, looking at the 8 clusters slowly unfolding here, I'm reminded of all the different parts inside of us. In therapy, we talk about allowing these parts of ourselves to be different from one another. Some are confident, some hesitant, some playful, and some are barely formed yet. These clusters feel like that for me. They don't need to match, they don't need to compete, and when I stop trying to make them all equally good, something softens in me. And I find that this softening really matters, because creativity thrives when the pressure is easing. And I love assembling them one after the other, like putting the scraps, the eyelets, the stitches, the button. This part is repetitive, and I actually enjoy that. Repetition is regulating. It gives the nervous system something predictable to hold onto. And as I work through each cluster, I'm noticing which ones I enjoy touching more, which ones feel satisfying in my hand when I really hold them, and which ones I want to linger on. That information matters more than whether something looks impressive. In therapeutic work, we pay close attention to the felt sense. Now something feels how something rather feels than looks. That's what I'm doing here too. So, and there's something else I want to name while I'm keeping working here on my clusters. Many of these clusters won't end up on a page. Some will live in a box. Some might be taken apart later, and I think that is fair enough. It doesn't mean they are wasted. In therapy, we often reframe effort like this. Not everything we do is meant to change something immediately. Some things are just meant to be practiced, so when you need them, you are already more comfortable and more used to using these techniques or are familiar with certain things. And doing the gluing, the sorting, the looking what fits well to each other here is, I find, similar when we are crafting. Making teaches us discernment. What feels right for me? What doesn't? What I want more of next time that I'm doing this. And as I keep working through the remaining clusters, I notice how different my relationship is with each one. Some feel really cooperative, almost as if they are saying, yes, you are on the right way, here, this is the direction. And others need more negotiation, a bit of rearranging, a pause, a stepping back. And actually that reminds me of something I see so often in therapy. Not everything responds to the same approach. What works beautifully for one part of us might feel completely wrong for another. So I'm letting each cluster ask for what it needs, rather than forcing them into the same solution each time. A button instead of an eyelet, or stitching instead of gluing, or sometimes nothing more at all. Or as I have it here, I would like to poke through with my needle, and for this one using actually a little craft bread here with this butterfly. There's a kind of listening happening here, not with words, but with my hands. So, and while I'm working, I'm also aware of how quiet this process feels. Not empty inside, just really spacious. And I think that's something many of us are missing in everyday life. Spaces where nothing is demanded of us, where there's no performance, no outcome we have to justify. Crafting like this gives the nervous system permission to rest while actually still being engaged. I find this is so rare that we find a space like that. You are doing something, but you are not being evaluated. You are focused, but not pressured. That balance is so deeply regulating. So some of these clusters are starting to feel like little anchors for me. Not because they are special or meaningful in a big way, but because they exist actually. They are proof that time passed gently by, that my hands stayed busy while my mind softened. And honestly, that's often enough. In therapy, we don't always aim for breakthroughs. Sometimes the goal is steadiness. Sometimes it's simply staying present long enough for the system to settle. This kind of making does exactly that. So, and as I attach another cluster here, I notice this familiar urge to make it beautiful or to find the right things to go together, to see if this works, if that works, what looks nice. There's, for me, always a little bit of the risk that I see something is not working properly and that I want to fix it, like it feels slightly off, and then I think, oh, how can I fix it? And for me, it's often not so easy to see, like, oh, it's just add this or do this. I can't make it better or cleaner or more balanced. So I'm experimenting with not doing that straight away or not knowing how to, like, letting something be almost right for a moment is quite a skill to learn, because so often in life we don't get to resolve things immediately. We live in these in-between spaces, the unfinished or the I'm not sure yet or I don't know how to do this spaces. And learning to tolerate that without rushing is a skill worth practicing, I find. So, sitting here, looking at my little butterfly, punching another hole for another bread. I'm also aware that if I were to photograph these clusters later, I would probably choose just a few. The ones that feel most alive, the ones that make sense together. And I think that's okay. Sharing only the finished pieces doesn't mean the rest were failures. It just means they served a different purpose. They were part of the path, not the destination. And remembering that can be incredibly freeing, creatively and emotionally. So as I come closer to finishing this video for today, there's quite satisfaction here. Not excitement, not pride, just a sense of completion. Like when you've tidied a small corner of your world or finished a cup of tea while it's still warm, which is a problem for me. I always need my microwave to warm it up again. So nothing dramatic happened here, and yet something shifted. That's the kind of change I trust the most. Look at this little butterfly. I really like it. I think that one will find a space in my junk journal. And maybe so does this one. And here we have the one with the stamp and the 2025. Like a small reminder of this year's Dephemerember. Very precious. And here is the little gingerbread stamp I did in a previous project. This one still not my favorite, I have to say. So I don't know what to do with this one. Maybe I play around with this a little. And here another of the New Zealand stamps from Gem, very precious. And the threads. One of the unfinished flowers and the little button found its way in here. So if you are crafting along today or even just watching, I hope this gives you permission to make without judging the outcome too soon, to let things be uneven, to let some attempts remain unfinished, to trust showing up matters more than getting it right. I wish you a wonderful day and hope to see you tomorrow.